Welcome back to the Corp Week 3. We have Danica Patrick and Tom Bilyeu on this week of the Corp. Danica Patrick, first up, unbelievable interview. We touched on a lot of things, but the one thing I wanted to kind of preview and talk to you about, Arod, was the idea of the day you retire and what does that mean for an athlete when they go into their post-retirement life world, and the scariness of waking up that next day and saying, everything I was, I am no longer, right? And you had that moment the day after you retired, and you did it in mid-season. I'd have to imagine those first couple days waking up had to be shocking to the system of your routine is now for 20-plus years is now gone.
It's scary as hell. I'm going on my third year anniversary, this upcoming week. And it's scary. I mean, it's like falling from the top of the hill, and you're just you don't know where the bottom is. And, there's this famous saying that you say athletes die twice. Once when they retire and once real death. And when I went home that first weekend, Dan, I was so scared, and I had 2 or 3 teams call me and say, hey, we'll put you on. We're out of the race. We'll let you hit 4 home runs. And I probably thought about it for half a second, and then I said, no, I'm good with the Yankees. And then I started my life after baseball. Of course, I had thought about retirement for some crazy reason my rookie year. And that's when I started making my investments, not thinking that I would play for almost 23 years, thinking that I would play for 5.5 years. That's the average. And, thank goodness that I'm having so much fun post my career, but I'm also involved very much in baseball with ESPN and with Fox.
Yeah, I think that what you just described, having not a fallback plan, but things already set up in place when you retire. And we talked about this with Danica, and I think it's very interesting. More than just an athlete. How are you more than just an athlete? Your identity is your sport, what you've been doing. But Danica, like she said, winery, clothing line, all these things, all these hobbies and interests that she's had, being able to wake up that first day when you're not an athlete anymore and have that to fall back on has to be comforting. One question with you just talked about teams calling you. What were the teams that called you? Who called you? Let's get a headline.
I can't disclose
Come on, there's
that.
a headline. No, you can.
Dan, before I answer that question, how about we talk about LinkedIn?
Our friends from LinkedIn, we're hiring. Barstool,
Hey,
you're
Corp,
hiring.
yep.
The Corp is hiring. So you need to get on LinkedIn because we won't find you unless you're on LinkedIn. And Arod, we've talked about this, but as people who I don't own a business, I have a stake in Barstool, so I do, I guess, would be a part owner. But when you're looking for new employees, you have to get the biggest pool of candidates possible. Otherwise, you're doing yourself a disservice. I'm sure you've had hiring nightmares.
Yep.
Don't say me, but you have.
Company included.
Yes, you have had hiring nightmares where you hire the wrong person because maybe you didn't look in the right pool or go through enough candidates. And that's why LinkedIn is so great, because they have 600 million members that visit LinkedIn to connect, learn, and grow as professionals. If you have a business and you're not using LinkedIn, you're doing yourself a disservice.
At the Corp, we say hire slow, fire fast. We never make a hire without looking at LinkedIn.
Yes. So there you go. So if you want a job at the Corp, if you want to, if you have a business and you want to hire someone who is well qualified, and like you said, that's a great saying, hire slow, fire fast. Hire slow means you got to post your job on LinkedIn and you got to look through all those candidates. And the best way to do it, like I said, LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can pay what you want, and the first $50 on them. So if you have a business, just visit linkedin.com/thecorp. Again, that's linkedin.com/thecorp to get $50 off your first job post. Terms and conditions apply, but that is a great deal, because if you're looking for a candidate, we're going to do it right now with a new Barstool job. You got to be on LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com/thecorp, and you get $50 off, $50 on LinkedIn right when you post your first job. So check them out. If you want a job, get on LinkedIn. If you want to find someone who wants a job, get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has it all. 600 million members.
And Dan, for our young listeners, update your resumes.
Yes.
Very important.
And network.
Yes.
That's the best part about LinkedIn. If you go on there, the tools that they have now where you can connect with people who might be outside of your little pool of friends and coworkers, that's the best way. I'm sure you've seen it. You've hired people on recommendations. I definitely have, where I find people because someone told me about them or I've networked up a level. A perfect example is Brian Axelrod and Ron Berkowitz, our friend. I got to you through them.
That's right.
That's connecting.
Yeah.
So you got to do it. LinkedIn's the best way to do it. So check them out. Our great sponsor, linkedin.com/thecorp. Who called you? We know the Marlins did.
I can just tell you this. It was close to home, one.
Okay, so Marlins.
And the other one was really far from home.
Were you going to go back to the Mariners? Oh, interesting. So did the Mariners call and like, hey, let's finish where your career started?
And our next guest,
Okay.
Danica Patrick.
I mean, okay, so there's the headline. Everyone run with that. Arod was thinking about going back to Seattle when he retired from baseball. That would have been great. Maybe you still can. Last question before we do this, because I love these questions. If you went up to the plate right now, current form, no practice, anything, 1 week, do you get it? Do you hit a home run?
I think yes. I think, especially
love it,
and especially as hard as the balls are right now, I can probably hit two.
Yes, that's true. Good point.
And now, Danica Patrick.
You're listening to The Corp, presented by Barstool Sports.
Okay, we now welcome on a very special guest. She is a former IndyCar and NASCAR racer. She is now doing a million different things in the business world, including CrossFit. It is Danica Patrick. Danica, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me on.
I'm excited for this interview because I actually like going through the notes. I think it's very interesting. We can have an interesting talk about your post-career and what you've been able to do after you retired from racing, similar to what Alex has been able to do in the business world after his retirement from baseball. So let's start with the retirement, like the decision to retire and whether you miss the racing world or not, and have you have that itch to go back to it?
No, but every now and again when I'm driving on the streets, I go a little faster than normal. But that's about it. I don't miss it at all. I mean, what I loved about racing wasn't racing. So what I loved was I loved setting a goal and achieving it. I loved having the hope every year that something better was coming. And so maybe it breaks down to a little bit of hope too. And so once I felt like that hope wasn't really there anymore, I was like, I'm not interested. It's not what fuels my fire. And while change initially makes me, tighten up, probably like most people, like, oh no, I instantly think to myself, but it could be better than I could ever expect. So there's no opportunity for newness when you're existing in the old. So I'm not really afraid of change. So when you put those things together, I was like, it took more convincing probably for my agent back then to handle the decision than it did for anybody else. In fact, the ironic thing is even when I told my dad, he was like, I was like, I just don't really love it anymore. And he's like, I know. And I was like, whoa, that was easy. I thought my dad and my agent would be the hardest. So, but no, I don't miss it. I look now at the races that are going on, and I thank God I'm not in Pocono right now, or thank God I'm not in this place anymore. Thank God I'm not here. Thank God I didn't have to do that media tour. Thank God I didn't have to do that, all the network promotion crap you have to do before every season. I mean, just so much stuff.
Sounds like you loved it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So there was a lot of stuff that just wasn't. I'm like so glad I didn't have to do it anymore.
Right.
But there's nothing like those. Like, let's say, I went and did the Indy 500 broadcast, having just raced it the year before. Look, it was very fun to watch, and it was relaxing. After it was over with, it's kind of like, oh, okay, like. Did that go okay? Did I do okay? When I'm done with driving, I know what I did, and I know whether it was good or bad. And so you kind of like have a sense of pride and, joy.
Right.
And, and relief on some level, but you don't. So I don't really have that. So there's a transition, but it's okay. Like, I'm good.
How does a young girl from, and of course I'm speaking as a father of two beautiful girls, how does a young girl from Wisconsin say, you know what, I want to race cars when there is really no role models? How do you land there?
Well, my dad used to race when he was younger. He raced, first he raced motocross, then snowmobiles, keeping in mind we're in the north, and then midgets, which are these cars that go sideways on a dirt track. So so racing was in our family. My mom and dad met on a blind date at a race. So
that is Wisconsin love right there.
That is, and I probably met in Wisconsin. Actually, the name
pre-Tinder.
Yeah.
The reason why, definitely. But there was the reason why my middle name is Sue is because the lady who set them up on a blind date, who lives of course I'm near this area all the time now, Green Bay. Her name is Sue Decker, and so Sue set my parents up on a blind date, and that's why my middle name is Sue. Wow. So it is very Wisconsin.
That's fantastic.
Very romantic.
Yes. All right. So the transition from retirement to business. How much of the business world were you in while you were still racing? Because you own a winery, you're in books, clothes, fitness, all these things. Did you start the transition before you retired?
I guess I did, but it wasn't. I remember at the end people saying like, "Oh, is this your plan B, or is this your exit plan, or is this your post?" I'm like, "No," and I with, some humbleness and some just honesty, but I said I don't need a backup plan, and I don't need a plan. I don't need anything. If I don't ever want to do anything again, I don't have to. I just love these things.
Right.
I just enjoy wine. I just enjoy clothing and designing and being artistic. I enjoy fitness and working out. I mean, these are all just things that I enjoy, and cooking and writing recipes. So, although I don't like measuring, but that's part of the process. So I love all these things, and I was able to, because I loved them and because I manifested them, as we talked about, you as a 10-year-old wanted these two things, and they came true, to be a ball player and a, what did you want, 100 million, or would you millionaire? Would you a business?
No,
what was
I
your
wanted
second?
to be a CEO
and a baseball player.
Check and
check, right?
Yeah.
So I just had these things that I love to do. So they started getting boxes that were checked off, with opportunities. And it's wonderful how the universe works when you ask for something and set an intention and want something. So then they all just became businesses. But the oldest one is my winery. So I bought the property in 2009, and 2017, the 14 vintage was for sale. So that was the beginning of that project, having the ability to start getting some money back.
Right.
And then the clothing started about 2 years ago, and then the book came out at the beginning of 2018.
What's been the most successful?
I mean, the winery is the most legitimate, successful. I mean, that's probably the most successful business.
Yeah. Is there any moment? I'm always curious with this, with someone who, like you said, you didn't need. There was no need for Plan B, but there's obviously a lot of things that interest you and you want to get into. Has there ever been a moment, whether it be with the clothing or the winery, where it starts to feel like a job, and you're like, oh, this is a little different than when it was maybe not your full-time job and maybe more of a hobby?
For me, it's somewhat of the due diligence side of things. It's the business. It's like I'm a doer, so I'm like, when I get an email that is like a paragraph long, I'm like, that's too long for me. Just call me. I'm like, I'm not like for me, that's it's not exciting or interesting and drawing me in. Like I need the doing. I need the conversation. I need to go see someone. I need to make a plan. I need to design a label. I needed I'm a doer. That's how I would describe myself, instead of a planner or a detail person. So when you're dealing with businesses, you can't ignore those things. And you also have to be a boss, like a real boss, and hold people accountable. So I have, that's not impossible by any means, but sometimes it gets hard. And I don't know, maybe you have this experience in business. Sometimes people aren't just doing their job very well. Yeah. And you don't really know until you either change, but how do you get to the point of changing? And so sometimes that reality is a little challenging to navigate, and, especially in business when you've created friendships and you know people really well, that's tough.
One of the things we say at the Corp is hire slow, fire fast.
Yep.
So, Dan's been in the cusp for many years now. But
I'm still here.
So you're still here, though.
Yeah,
I mean, today
it was very slow, my hiring process. It was like 2 years. Yeah.
Danica, when you think
letters
about,
upon letters.
Yes.
Dear Arod,
Tweets and
please
tweets.
hire
Yeah,
me.
pretty much.
but not long letters.
Yeah, not long. Yeah.
Our listeners are always intrigued about the arc of how something gets done. So walk us through a little bit of who is your right and left-hand person when it comes to finances, and when it comes to investing philosophies, would you consider yourself more of an ownership person or a licensing person?
Licensing has been the past. Ownership's the future. So I don't know if I don't think so. You seem like you're more on the ownership side of things. But for me, it was always easier to kind of just, lend my name, get paid. It's quick, it's dirty, it's easy.
Sounds like dating.
But yeah.
Just throw your name out there.
Tinder
Yeah.
is just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have any of that stuff. But for the future now, it's like when there's an opportunity to be paid for something versus have some ownership and have an investment in the project and have potential for the long-term earnings that really will far outweigh the short term if you're willing to be patient. I'm always willing to take the long term now. I'm like, look, I want to be a partner. I want to be an investor. I want to have the opportunity for this to have some tremendous growth. And especially now, like I have my time to invest. Like where before, I mean, you didn't show up for something if you didn't get paid.
Right.
And so with my book in particular, but also the clothing line and all the projects moving forward, the wine, they were projects that I said to myself, I am not going to count the days on these. I'm going to do what it takes to be successful, because before them, I had always counted the days. It was literally, you're guaranteed 5 days, 6-hour days. When they're done, or you get 2 8-hour days, they're done. Like, I would do a great job. I'm on time. I'm professional. I, rave reviews usually. But there's a transition where you go, okay, I'm going to invest in these. I'm going to invest in myself, but I'm also going to invest in these projects. And I stopped counting the days. So that was kind of the transition point for me. It was probably like 2017.
Has there ever been a time where you've turn down something because the time commitment is too big, and it's like, hey, I can't, because everyone's time is valuable. You say you have the time now, but there's got to be a point where it might have been a great idea, but look, I can't be focused on this for 30 hours a week when I have all these other things going on.
Yeah, 30 hours a week. Who does anything for 30 hours a week?
Yeah, that's true. I play video games.
Well, this is your boss. You're supposed to say, this is what I do 30 hours a week. Remember you said you were here till 2 a.m. last night?
I was here till 2 a.m. That's actually a
You
fact.
were working?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
We got to work around the clock. Keep everything
I always
fresh.
wake up to your tweets.
Yeah. Because that's a little tip for you for now that you have free time. Tweet late at night so people are like, shit, she's really killing it. And then wake up at like 7 a.m, throw out a tweet, and then go back to sleep for like 4 hours. So people will be like,
wow.
Yo, do you sleep? And it's like, nope. Never sleep.
People love honesty and
crazy.
Vulnerability.
Yes, exactly.
Apparently worked.
It does. It works every time. I was like, man,
Yeah.
you work hard. It's like, well, I'm taking like 6 naps a day.
Danica, was there a scary part when you said, I'm done, I erased my last one?
No, I was relieved. I was bummed I crashed, but the whole end of my career was sad in that way. But I don't think it wasn't scary. I remember being told in the end by my agent that no one's going to remember me, and everyone's going to forget about me, and everyone's going to drop every deal I have, and I'm going to just fade away. And I bawled after I got off that phone call in the summer of 2017. And I was like, it was just a lot of shit going down in my life. And I was like, oh boy. And so I already knew what I needed to do, but the crying was the realization that could be real. But screw that. It's only real if I believe it. And so it wasn't. And great things ended up happening still. And there was more time for it. There was opportunity. A door closes, one opens. Like, you just can't be afraid to give yourself that space. But I also wanted to do less too. Like, I wanted to go on vacations. When I was done, I was like, I want to take trips. I want to actually go to concerts. I want to make it to someone's wedding.
I want to live in
like
Green Bay.
I want to live in Green Bay. I can't wait. I mean, these were all, and they happened.
Yeah.
What happened to the agent?
He's not my agent anymore.
Okay, I was going to say. But that's actually an interesting point.
I mean, that's just a true story.
Yeah.
He did a lot of good for me, but we had reached a point where life was transitioning and there was a need for change.
But it's
I don't have any agent now.
Well,
so.
it's an interesting point because I think both you guys are perfect examples where a lot of athletes do retire and kind of fade away. And it is hard to write that second chapter of your career where you stay in the public eye and relevant in a different way. And you both have done it very well, and it's hard to do, though.
Well, look, I think that, we both have retired at a reasonable age with dignity, and, we're not hanging on for dear life and fading out within our careers. So, I don't know. Maybe this is like you and I talking for a second here since you work for him.
Yeah. And also, I'm kind of in the prime of my career, so not to brag. Yeah.
But do you think that, I don't know, did it make it easier to make the decision because you had other things to do, so you had something to look forward to?
I think that, and I think I left it all out there. There was never a regret of, oh my God, did I do too much? It was the other way around. I think I did try to do too much. And I think knowing that I have maximized every ounce of my skill and my talent, I never wanted to look back and go, God, if I would have worked harder, if I would have taken less vacations. I left it all. And that was for me what made me satisfied with the end. I was tired.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were tired too. I mean, there's definitely probably a point.
Yeah.
More
I mean, I had
mentally
things
than
to.
anything.
Yeah.
I was drained mentally.
There was just things that I was so over having to do anymore. I mean, it's fun. It's ironic to say that I was so sick of doing the interviews when we're sitting here for an hour and I talk to you for an hour. I mean, it's because that's a lot longer, but it's different. There's a difference between actually having a conversation where time flies and being pounded with multiple 5 to 7 minute interviews over and over and over and over and over
we
again.
didn't have the time.
And you never get asked anything interesting.
Right.
We never had the time to sit down for hours and hours because we had to get the next appointment. So the licensing
That's not true.
business,
Hang on. I just said to all the media that I never got asked anything interesting. That's not true.
I asked you about
That's not true.
The masturbation crystals.
The what?
They were masturbation crystals?
Remember the interview I did with you?
I don't remember the masturbation
jerk-off
part. That was what you that was in your head.
The crystals.
All I can remember was my mala.
Well, yeah, it was a Craigslist ad where a dude was asking for other dudes to show up and look at their crystals and jerk off. But that was that is definitely an interesting question, wouldn't you say?
He's your employee.
Yeah, wouldn't you say? That was an interesting question. I'll show you the clip after.
Okay.
You remember that one.
I just remember telling you about my beads.
Yeah, and then it got off track. But I did. I want it noted that I did ask you an interesting question.
Okay, pivoting.
You did, but anyway, the point is, this is very different. This is very different. I think I've heard you say it that when you're playing and when you're doing anything, in that sort of normal interview world, it's tough to really get into depth about anything and explain something and really go there because you're on a clock, and so this is a fresh way to talk.
Yeah.
So let's deal with the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Right? And the elephant in the room is you're a beautiful woman, and some people would invite you places because you're a smoke show, and they really don't care much about some people, not us, your race car driving career or your business or your acumen. They're interested in Danica Patrick is hot. Let's invite her and let's pretend we actually care, but we really don't. When you deal with that, A, have you, and B, how do you deal with it?
Well, I mean, I think that, I don't think that people would just have me show up and, I think it's part of the package. Mm-hmm. That's how I always describe myself, as a package. And that's what helped me be able to be established in racing and do it for so long, was that yes, I could represent their product. I could speak to their customers. I could speak to their owners, their CEOs, their CMOs and FOs, and all the ones it takes to make the business go round. I was able to, entertain, tell stories. I was able to drive the car. Mm-hmm. Look, if I would have sucked, because there's been some seriously shitty drivers that have existed, if I would have been one of those that was seriously only a face, I would never have continued as long as I did. I raced for 27 years.
Right.
So
Wow.
the thing is that, I was a package.
Right.
And so, look, was I a supermodel? No, but I did a good job. Mm-hmm. Was I the best driver in the world? Man, I tried. I didn't end up with those results, but I tried. And so, like, it was a package. Mm-hmm. So, no, I mean, I feel like that was more about what it was. I'd say the one thing, though, that made me more relieved in my job to be able to just go do my job without, I had pressure, which was from myself. But, you signing your, bajillion-dollar contract, $250 million, and feeling like, okay, this is my job for the team. Like, home runs, do your job. Like, I was already probably doing the job before I ever hit the track. Right? So I was already in their advertisements, creating ROI and creating entertainment and giving them, places to entertain customers. Like, that was happening, and winning, being successful was icing on the cake.
Right. That's an interesting way to put it. I tend to agree. So it kind of came afterwards. The one that I am very interested in is your relationship with GoDaddy, because that was a big first step, I think, in your in the advertising world for you, and it was also huge for GoDaddy because they were new and you helped propel them. It's always interesting to see a relationship where an athlete and a company kind of grow together, and now you've gone full circle. You're working with them again.
Yeah.
I mean,
we grew up together.
Yeah,
That's how I described it.
Right.
Yeah.
You've helped them and they've helped you. What has that been like to watch their success and for them to watch your success for the last 15 plus years?
Well, I had the most ideal scenario possible with Bob Parsons, the founder of GoDaddy, and I being able to look at each other and truly say, I couldn't have done it without you. And he's like, I couldn't have done it without you. You're more important. No, you're more important. I mean, that's a perfect scenario when I need you and you feel like you need me. So that's why it went so well. We had fun. We look, I was going to bring in attention because I'm a girl in racing, and look, we're going to do that with our commercials too. So it was just like next level of that. And then I definitely used the description that we grew up together, because it went from look at me and attention, which is kind of how it was for me in the beginning. I remember a long, long time ago doing a photo shoot for FHM, and there was like, look at me, create an awareness. And most people didn't know anything else other than GoDaddy, like GoDaddy Girl, Danica, and that's it. They didn't even know what they did. So then it became, let's take the company and let's help get people to understand what we do. So then there was an educational phase. And then when they came back on board after being gone for a couple of years, it was about entrepreneurial activities, starting your own company and being an entrepreneur and taking risk and having a side hustle to make it your big hustle. It was all about that. And I'm like, that's all about me right now, because it was my last year in racing, and they came back on to be the primary sponsor for those races. So it was, for me, I was transitioning to all these new businesses, and I'm like, that's me. I'm kind of a small business owner.
Right.
So it's really been perfect.
Danica, is there anyone out there in the community, maybe sports, that pivoted to business, or just anyone out there that you look up to as a businessman or businesswoman?
You do a great job, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Very inspiring.
It's a compliment to both of us, so thank you.
Thank you. You earned yourself a job, so
I'm just saying thank you. Yeah.
It is true. You manifested.
Yes.
With a little aggression.
I did. It's believe it, achieve it. Yeah. That's what I always say.
I agree. I agree. There's all kinds of information about that in the mind. So good job. Yeah, there are. I mean, there's drivers. I think the most common thing that drivers do is they start a team. Like Kevin Harvick was someone in racing. He had a management company and managed a bunch of fighters and golfers, I think, and stuff. So there's definitely some people that have branched out to do other things. So yeah.
What about in terms of? I always find the thing that I see with both of you is that when you leave your career as an athlete and then go into business world, the one common strain is that the intellectual curiosity and like always wanting to learn new things and talk to new people. So who is that person or people who you've kind of leaned on to not learn the ropes of business, but to be, they maybe mentor you or tell you.
I have been spending more time with my financial advisor and understanding what's going on. But honestly, Aaron is super smart, and he's very business minded and very good with numbers. So he does a good job of helping explain things to me. He's very patient, and he explains things really well. So he's been really good.
What kind of investor is Aaron?
He's an investor. I mean, he invests in,
stock market or more businesses.
How much
more
Bitcoin
businesses,
does he own?
more, a little bit more. Like he has a fund that he started to go and invest into direct to consumer companies.
Nice.
So
What's it called?
I got invested in that RX3.
RX3.
Okay, write that down.
So he has that and invests into various different things. So he's already on that path. I mean, it's not something that he probably talks about a ton, but
That's great.
it's very much part of his life and his world, and it's a way he can use all of the brains he has because he is so smart and use it on more than film and remembering hundreds of plays.
Is he a Cal guy?
He was, yeah.
Cal
He
guy.
went to Cal, yeah.
Yeah.
Smart. You gotta be smart.
Yeah, very smart. Do you ever accidentally call him Arod and then you're like, whoops, you're not the real Arod?
I won't, because I don't. I mean, there's nothing against you at all. You're lovely. You're wonderful. You're smart. You're intelligent. You're accomplished.
Say it again.
Wait, there's a butt coming. I don't like it.
I know.
But I don't. But Aaron is not you.
That's why I tried to interrupt that.
Aaron is not.
I am
Alex,
more
you're
likely
right.
to call Aaron A-Rod
Arod?
than I am to call him A-Rod.
Okay.
A-Ron.
Okay. All right. Or A.
He does like A-Rod though. When I asked him like, well, what do you like to be called? A nickname? He's like, I like A-Rod. I'm like, but that's
Okay.
A-Rod. That's
No, you can't.
But he's younger than me. He's younger.
A-Rod. We can throw a G on the end.
maybe that's the
Or a
difference.
guy who can't chug a beer.
Or A-Ron.
Yeah.
So speaking.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, let's go there.
No.
Why? What
I
happened?
was told,
What was that
hey,
question?
He couldn't chug a beer.
I was told the other day by my girlfriend at the gym, because, I live in Green Bay now. She's there, and she goes, girl, she's like, the Bakhtiari challenge is going to be deadly this winter. She's like, there are so many people, they're already doing it, chugging 3 beers. It's the Bakhtiari challenge.
That is like a felony, not being able to chug a beer in the state of Wisconsin.
So
Maybe D-Bach just got to shine. I don't know.
Yeah.
So talking about Aaron, and not necessarily about him, but I think our listeners always wonder about how normal are we? You were in a relationship, you became single. How does someone who is like an average guy, like Cat, like Big
me.
Cat,
Yeah, like me.
how does he approach someone like you? Now, obviously, you're in a relationship, so, but someone like famous like you, that's this powerhouse, beautiful woman. Are you someone that if you're at a bar or you want someone to walk up to you, send you a drink, send you a note, email, DM? Tell me about that process. If you were single, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd probably just go up and say hi, but I think, I remember going to the ESPYs a long, long time ago and being afraid to go, not because I had a crush on anyone, but going up and saying hi to anybody. I'm like, God, I'm so scared. Like, they probably don't know who I am, like they, in the early days they might not have, I don't know, but, I got enough ovaries up to go over and say hi to some people. And I was like, okay, that's not so bad. And then finally you reach the point where you're like, they probably know who I am. And if I just go up to them and say, hey, I'm a big fan, nice to meet you, and walk away, like I approach them in the way I'd want to be approached. So
And that's your way of flirting?
no, that's just like meeting people.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Like
if you had
meeting-
a crush on him,
Yeah.
If I had a crush on someone,
how would you approach it? That's my question.
With total fear and just no belief that I had a chance, probably.
Drive a race car over 200 miles an hour.
I mean, I met Aaron a long time ago.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I don't have a 20-year-old history of a signed autograph picture like you do of J-Lo, but we met in 2012. So we met at the ESPYs. I remember it was like some after party, and it was like, oh, we were at the bar getting a drink, and oh, hey, and we started talking, and he was like throwing some movie lines. I'm like, this guy's really funny. And we kind of randomly kept in touch from that point on, and that's it. Like,
and how did it reconnect?
It was through that randomly kept in touch. We'd see each other at the ESPYs. I saw him in Tahoe one year at the golf tournament. Just random things and random reach outs. So it was kind of like he reached out, and I didn't just sort of go, okay, great, nice, good to hear from you. Hope you're well. It was like, how are you? Yeah. And then I was like, oh my God, we might have some things in common.
Wow, you guys make a great couple, and we're big fans of Aaron.
Well, I'm not.
Speak for myself.
I'm being truthful here. I'm a big fan of you, Danica, but I mean, I'm a Bears fan. I don't like Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's right.
He
that's
just
right.
Destroys my life like every single year.
So you just don't like him because he makes your life difficult. It's
That's
not that you don't
reason,
like him.
Is it not?
Fair.
It's a pretty good reason.
It's
Seems
like
a nice guy.
a twisted respect. It's okay.
Oh no, I've been very, very complimentary of him. Like I do a lot of Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL, but I hate his fucking guts. Like, I do a lot of that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Right.
That's fair.
First. Do you ever? And this is a question for both of you. Being in a relationship with another famous person, does it ever bother you when like the littlest thing gets blown up in the press, or you're out in public and like, for example, the Bucks fan who bought you a drink? Oh
God, do you want to know that story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, here's the story. So I had said maybe within a week before, I never drink at games, at sporting events, and I never drink at concerts. I just don't. Like, I don't know. I've never been drunk. Maybe I've had a drink before, but I've never been drunk at either one. Mm-hmm. And it's just not my thing, especially sporting events. I'm like, I'm an athlete. Like, it's just not appropriate, So we're sitting in the front row, and everybody has a drink. Everybody has a drink at their feet. Yeah. And I see all these pictures of other celebrities that go to games, and they're chugging and getting cheered for. And I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm 37. I can have a drink if I want. So I had one glass of wine early in the game. And then so the second half comes, and we all get back out there, and the guy behind was helpful because the waitress came to him because they can't, there's two rows. So the waitress was behind the second row, and he's like, do you want anything? I'm like, actually, yeah, I'll have. So that was in the first quarter. And then so I gave her like $20. Look, I didn't know they were free in the front row, but I didn't want to be a jerk anyway. So I just was like, oh yeah, just keep the 20. And so then I was like, so then I'm sitting there at the second half, and I'm done, right? Like, I don't want any more. I was like, oh, that was fine, but we're going to leave soon, and the game, and there's a 2-hour drive home. And so I'm like, no, I don't want one. And so he goes, I'm going to get you one anyway. So the waitress comes back with it. He hands it to me. And now, of course, I don't want to be a jerk. So I get my 20 out again. And I'm like, here you go. Give it to her. Because just because I don't want it doesn't mean she didn't have to go get it.
Right.
And so I took it, and I looked at the girl next to me because she didn't want hers either. But he got one for her, too. And I cheersed her. We had a sip, and I put it between my feet. And that was it.
So the money, I can't even remember when you tried to pay, they waived it off because it was all free, right?
Oh, she took it.
Oh, she took it. Okay. So you were just really good tipper.
Really
good tipper. Yeah, but see, that's the perfect example. Those little things
become
huge
So
things.
Yes, when little things get blown out of proportion, it's annoying because it's impossible for it to not affect your psyche a little.
Yep.
Well, I missed the punchline. What was the story?
So the guy, like, it was basically like, like some other guy is buying Danica Patrick drinks while she's sitting next to a guy who can't chug a beer. What did we say his nickname was?
This was before that.
Got it.
Yeah. Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron. Yeah.
So it looked like he was buying a beer or buying a drink for me, and Aaron's just kind of sitting there watching
Aaron
the
was
game.
Getting cucked, to put it simply. But yeah, so go ahead. You were going to get to a big point there, like that thing would drive me nuts if those little things.
Well, because it's just stupid, and people just love to look. Those kinds of headlines are fun for people to read, and it's whatever. It's like, I don't know how you feel, but it's not possible for it to not affect you at all.
Right.
Even if it's just 1%, you're like, that was stupid.
That's annoying
because I was pissed at I was actually mad because I'm like, I never drink at games, and there it is, you know, like I had one, and now he thinks I want a second, you know, and so I was like, oh, there it is.
Right.
Just
and wait,
showing
so
why
if
I
the
don't
drinks
do
were
that.
free, he was doing that like lame joke that people do at like an open bar, like drinks on me. That's even worse by that guy.
God, you're right.
He's setting it straight. Yeah.
Now I'm angry.
Yeah, now I'm angry because that joke sucks.
He was actually really fun. He's a really funny guy.
Okay.
He was really nice. He was friends with the people sitting to the right of us.
Okay.
So they've been at any game that we've been at.
Yeah.
So he's a really funny
But that
guy.
would drive me nuts. Those
His
little
commentary
things.
during the games is great. It's fun. But he was a lively guy that just wanted everyone to have a good time.
Yeah. But does that bother you?
Do you
Yeah.
like, did that stuff get to you at all? Just the little shit? Can I say that?
I think you're right. I think
you
it's
can
like
say- you can
whether it's
swear.
the 1 or 2% or 5%, there's always a small part. Like when
Yeah.
you're human, right? But it's
Yeah.
just a distraction. But you just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
sometimes it's 50. Sometimes you're like
Yeah.
really hurt.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like,
Yeah.
"Nah," you know, so yeah, it's like, I
Absolutely.
mean, like, but I'm saying it can't affect you zero.
It's also one of those weird things where it's like such a normal interaction with a human being, but then
Yeah.
it becomes
Yeah.
a lot bigger than
Yeah.
that. It's like, what,
Like,
who
I remember-
hasn't had like been at a bar like and be like, hey, can I grab you a beer or like something like that? It happens all the time.
Even pictures of me sitting at the game and like, you know, just like, I'm just watching the game, but I'm not laughing. And it's like, I look miserable. I'm just watching the game.
Right,
Like,
right.
I mean, you know, so it's
So
just,
obviously you're very fit, you're very strong, you love working out. Talk to us about what you do in CrossFit and tell us a little bit about some of your personal best records.
some PRs.
Yeah.
I've always worked out since I was a kid. I mean, racing go-karts, I had to be strong to do that. So the tires were very sticky and the track would get a lot of rubber on it and there was no power steering in a go-kart, so you did have to be fairly strong. So I started working out when I was 14. I remember my parents would let me take my Mustang Cobra to the YMCA down the street by myself.
Wow.
Before I had my license. They also let my sister and I drive their truck. It was probably a Ford Ranger or something around their building. They were in construction basically. So we'd drive around their building, and my sister and I were not much taller than now than we were then. We've always been tiny, but she would work one thing like the pedals, and I would steer, and I'd be like, slow down, and then I'd
How old were you when you did this?
probably 6.
Oh my God, that's
5.
hilarious.
I mean, my parents let us drive their car around.
Right.
And we couldn't obviously reach the pedals, so we
Right.
had to work in tandem.
That's awesome.
So I've been working out for a long time. It's gone through many iterations of what I think is the right thing at the time. But probably my favorite phase has been CrossFit. I started in 2013, and it kind of made everything else I did after feel like, man, why did I waste so much time? Even just going out for a run for a half an hour. You can't run for a half an hour unless
Right.
you're at a pace that's not that hard.
Right. No, it's true. CrossFit pushes you. What's your Murph?
So I've only partitioned
don't
Murph. No, I have. I've done it
Okay.
a couple times.
All right.
And I have never done it with a vest either. I haven't done it with a vest, and I haven't done it 100, 200, 300 like the way through you're supposed to.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, it's a mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and a mile run. And you're supposed to wear a 20-pound vest, which I think girls are too, which is bullshit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, especially when you're 5'1".
Right.
How much you weigh? 5'1" what?
About 110.
Yes, that's ridiculous. It's like
So anyway, so for like
That'd
a
be like me wearing a
200-pound
75-pound
man wearing a
vest.
20-pound vest and a 100-pound girl wearing a 20-pound vest is
Right.
really not fair.
Right.
But anyway, I've done it. I think I did it in about 35 or 36 minutes.
Wow.
Without the vest. And,
yeah.
And what's your PR?
which
Let's say
one?
squat
You
or
got to say a
deadlift?
walk.
I deadlift 255 like an
Wow.
ugly cat. Like with with your back getting really arched on the way up. Like I can clean and jerk about 135. I think I did 137 because I put ones on the sides just to say I PR'd.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
237 or 137. And
What
let's
about
see what else.
pull-ups? Do you kip?
I can do it all. Yeah, I don't
can do it all,
butterfly
wow.
very well, but I
Okay.
can kip really well,
Yeah.
and then I can strict pull up. So I've probably strict pull upped with, I don't know, I'm sure there's at least 30 pounds.
How many in a row can you do?
Strict without weight,
Yeah, without weight.
fresh.
Yeah.
fresh.
Oh, probably 10 or 12.
Damn.
That's
I was gonna
amazing.
say I can do 3. 2.5.
I don't.
It's more
Can
like
you
2.5.
really do 3?
Yeah, because you jump up. That's 1. And then you go down and then you get back.
You know,
up,
a
that's
negative
2.
doesn't count.
Yeah, and then you get the half. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So those are a few of them anyway.
Okay.
I'm a horrible snatcher.
Yeah.
Don't everybody laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think I've only snatched like 97.
Yeah.
To put the ones on.
Those
97.
are tough. I miss CrossFit. We were talking about it before. Like I should try to get back into it because I was actually in good shape at one point in my life.
You'll love it.
Yeah. All right. So Danica Patrick, you also have a podcast coming out called Pretty Intense.
Yeah.
You interviewed Arod. What made you want to get into the podcast world?
When I was done racing, even before I was done racing, I'm like, I love the ability to inspire people. I mean, I was able to do it just by showing up at the track and going out there. People thought that was great and inspirational. So how was I going to continue to be able to inspire people and help them grow and help them feel like they could do anything and just sort of, do the inspire thing. And so when this came up, this has been something that's been floating around for a while, but I was like, you know what, this is a great opportunity to dive in and, like we talked about, like I push for emotion. I push for how did you get there? Like it's very much like I want it to be a transformative show where you have some sort of calls to action or some helpful tips as to how you can grow too, because that's the point, right? The point of going from someone who, you talked about making mistakes and then finally looking in the mirror and going, it's just me. Mm-hmm. And then, like, how'd you do that? Like, how'd you get from that point A to point B? And what was that period like? Because, growth is never easy. And that's the shitty thing about it is that the like I said, the only way to the other side is through. So you have to go through the crap to get to the other side. But you're going to be better for it. And for me and my own spiritual journey and my own growth as a human, it's difficult, but it's worth it. Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us can you tease some of the names?
I was going to say, or your wish list too.
My wish list.
You do your wish list, I'll do mine.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Gosh, I mean, look, we're getting started. So this week is kind of the first big week. So I'm excited to talk to Gloria Steinem later today. She's kind of a writer and a feminist and someone that she's 85. Like, it's going to be really interesting. Apparently, Bill Murray says he wants to do it.
There you go.
If we can get him to call back from his voicemail machine, that would be great.
That's awesome.
I've got a few chefs coming on. So I just actually did Bobby Flay's show, so he's going to come on and do it. And a couple others, Jeffrey Zarkarian and Marcus Samuelson.
Nice.
Let's see. Gretchen Carlson's going to do it. Barbara Cochran.
Mm-hmm. She's great.
She came
great.
on this one, yep.
Yep. So, yeah, I want it to be really diversified. So the only category I feel like we didn't hit as much as I would want. Like, I love the idea of experts, right? So I'm intrigued by people like, Neil deGrasse Tyson and someone like crazy and out like David Icke, somebody, let's see, Greg Braden or Joe Dispenza or Bruce Lipton. Like, these are people who are experts in like, you probably don't even know those names, but they're like crazy smart, inspirational, talking about the power of the mind, talking about how to reprogram yourself from the subconscious to the conscious. I mean, these are like, to me, that's the tools to move forward and to grow. And so we're going to, but it's like athletes, musicians, artists, actors, experts, chefs. It's going to kind of run around.
That's great. Who's your wish?
Well, there's a wish list for this podcast, which I think we want to get. I think we talked about Russell Wilson, Mark Cuban. I have a wish list for my day job, part of my take, and it's Aaron Rodgers, but I think he's too scared to come on. Oh. So hopefully he's listening to this right now.
Wow.
Come on, pardon my take.
How are you going to get that done?
I don't know. I don't know anyone who knows him.
Oh.
So.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, we don't talk shop, so.
Yeah, exactly. Fair. Actually, I know David Bakhtiari, so that's what I'm going to do.
Dave?
Yeah, hopefully
that's your way in.
He can do it, and then we'll
he would come on if you had Dave and him.
Yeah, we'll definitely be open to that. He needs his offensive lineman because he's scared of my brain.
Right?
Right.
What?
He's scared of my brain.
You don't know AA, Ron. Then
Are you ready for a little rapid fire?
yeah.
All right, let's go. One word answer, basic, is what we're looking for. What song do you sing to yourself in the shower?
Whatever one was just on.
Are you a book or Kindle person?
Oh, book.
Top favorite book?
I just read Holographic Universe this year, or the end of last year, and that was really good.
Instagram or Snapchat?
I don't even have Snapchat.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Yes,
Coffee or
good
tea?
answer.
Coffee, lots of it.
Hotter, Shawn Mendes
I thought we were going to
or
get some
Justin
coffee.
Bieber?
Didn't we ask for some coffee earlier?
Yeah, it's coming, I think, for season 4.
That was probably my job. I'm unfortunately here, so I'll get it
Sorry,
after.
keep wrapping
Hotter,
away.
Shawn Mendes or Justin Bieber?
I'm just not in touch anymore.
I don't know who Shawn Mendes
I know.
is.
I do. I guess I'm Bieber fan.
Cool. What's your pet peeve?
Belieber. What's what?
What's your pet peeve?
So it's an interesting one that can't be more than, it has to be more than one word, because I get frustrated by rude people, but my rude is so bad that you'd never think that that's true, because I'm very rude back. It always starts.
I love that.
I haven't turned the mirror on
Fight
myself
fire
on that
with fire.
one yet.
Iron sharpens iron.
What personality
Slow
trait-
drivers really do annoy me. That's cliche.
that
but
Yeah.
makes sense.
Totally true.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
I just ride their tail.
Yes.
I try and push them if
Yeah.
that's even possible. You can in a stock car, you can push them with the air, but I know that's not happening on the road.
So Danica gets up in the middle of the night, 1 a.m, you're starving. You go down to the fridge. What do you grab?
Never happened.
Come on, never?
It's never happened.
No, come on. Never. You've never been hungry at 1 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, unless I'm still awake.
Okay, then
so
what do you get
I've
that?
never woke up in the middle of the night hungry. You know what I do? I will
How
say
about
that
late night snack?
when I have a really early morning and I have to wake up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning for something, for some reason, and maybe this is the whole like cortisol hormone situation, I'm ravenous. Like I'm starving at 5 a.m. But when I sleep until 7, 8, whatever, if I like have a miraculous sleep till 9, which almost never happens, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the cortisol, is you need to let your hormones go through the cycle, and then you won't be hungry or
How about after the
something like that.
ESPYs, you're starving? What's your late night snack?
Sober or drunk?
Drunk, of course.
French fries.
All right, so one word to describe these names. Jeff Bezos.
Brilliant.
Serena Williams.
Bold.
Tom Brady.
Careful.
Is this your team?
No,
Oh.
I'm saying because
Oh.
you got quarterback.
Yeah. Like steady.
2 more. Phil Knight.
Longevity.
Tiger
Gosh.
Woods.
Longevity.
There you
Jeez,
go.
like
Yeah.
that's determination,
Yeah,
really.
that's
That's like that's a good one to finish out. Like that was a great story. I mean, look, you lived it, right? Like sometimes it's just about coming out with it all and being yourself. And I think he went through hell and came back. And let's just see, like, even away from the personal stuff, when you go to the what I'm gonna call on track, his work. To be humble enough to keep coming back, because
Yeah.
he failed a lot.
And the injuries and everything that
The injuries
take
and the
out personal
failures.
stuff, but
And
his
look, it's
spine
and at the same thing, like I said about you in business, like he doesn't need the money.
right.
Like he doesn't need to win one more tournament. Like he's doing it for some other reason.
Yeah.
So what is that? And so, what a cool story. What a
He would be
great,
good for your
great
podcast.
story. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah, I'm sure you can just call him up.
Yep. I'll get right on that. Do you have his phone number handy? I just don't have it on me right now.
No, yeah, we'll swap. You send me errands, and I'll send you Tiger Woods. Danica Patrick, thank you so much. We
Yeah.
appreciate
Thank you guys.
your time.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you so much.